Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We are coming to you live from our studio here at Adesanwe Kanda in Accra. Coming up this evening, police CID petitioned to investigate Supreme Court Justice Yonny Kulendi and his cousin Richard Jakpa over alleged interference in the Ato Forson trial. We have details of that for you in a moment. Also coming up, former Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko joins the NPP's chairmanship race, and tonight we'll examine his chances and fitness for the role. And later, U.S. African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, which allows the export of Ghanaian goods to U.S. market free of tariffs, officially ends today. We find out how businesses are repositioning themselves to explore other markets. Details of all of these and more coming up for the next 1 hour. Do stay with us, but before that, we'll bring you the news summaries.
In a summary tonight, the General Secretary of the NPP, Justin Korea-Frimpong, has petitioned the party's disciplinary committee regarding the conduct of the party's Bono Regional Chairman, Kwame Bafo. A statement by the party's General Secretary on September 30, 2025, said the petition outlines a series of actions by Mr. Bafo that are deemed not only unbecoming of a member of the party, but also gravely detrimental to the image, unity, and integrity of the organization. In the petition, Korea-Frimpong refers to a series of conducts which constituted defamation of a senior member. Now, drama unfolded at dawn today, Tuesday, September 30, 2025, at the Sekusua police station in the Upper Manya Krobo districts in the eastern region after a police patrol team intercepted a truck carrying more than 100 sacks of substances suspected to be Indian hemp. The three officers from the Eastern Regional Command, acting on intelligence, swooped in on a Hyundai 5-ton truck with registration number ER760-23 and directed it to the Sekusua police station to process the suspects. However, upon arrival at the station, the suspects reportedly placed a call to the Asasewa District Police Commander Superintendent Francis Aka, who later appeared and ordered the arrest and detention of the patrol officers instead. Now, the unusual turn of events prompted the Eastern Regional Police Operations Commander, ASP Kofi Otre, to rush to the Asasewa police station to secure the release of his men. In other stories, the Minister for Interior, Muntaka Mubarak, has revealed that Ghana's gun registration process remains fully manual, posing significant challenges for both applicants and law enforcement. Appearing before the Public Accounts Committee on Tuesday, the minister explained that acquiring a firearm license involves several cumbersome steps, including writing directly to the Interior Minister, background checks by the National Investigations Bureau or the police CID, fingerprinting, and fee payment. He noted that while the registration process is to control the number of guns in the country, the manual system also complicates renewals since firearm licenses are issued per calendar year. And finally, former Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko has formally declared his intention to contest for the position of the NPP chairman. Now, in a press statement released today, Mr. Agyarko described his decision as a call to duty after extensive consultations with family, close associates, and party faithfuls. He emphasized that his decision is rooted in a deep sense of responsibility and service to the party. Do well to visit our website at 3news.com. We're also streaming on Facebook and YouTube at 3FM 92.7. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Christabel, for the news summaries. Let's delve into the details of the stories we have for you this evening, and we are starting from issues having to do with the courts, because a private citizen has petitioned the Criminal Investigations Department, the CID, to probe the Supreme Court Justice Yonny Kulendi and his cousin Richard Jakpa over alleged attempts to interfere with the prosecution of a high-profile trial, according to the petition cited by 3FM. The petition filed by Daniel Mafu Oforiata relates to the case of the Republic versus case Ato Forson and two others, which commenced in January 2023. According to the petition, the alleged interference began on the day the accused persons were first arraigned before court on the 18th of January 2023. The petitioner claims that Mr. Jakpa sought the intervention of his cousin, Justice Yonny Kulendi, to secure assistance from the Attorney General Godfrey Dame to facilitate his release despite not having met the conditions of bail. The petition further alleges that Justice Kulendi directly interfered in the release of Richard Jakpa. So that's the information we have got, and let's try and find out from a private legal practitioner what exactly this means, and could it in any way affect the current issues of how lawyers and their relatives can relate. Martin Pebu is a private legal practitioner. He's joined us on phone for a quick chat. Counsel, a very good evening to you. Thank you for your time.
Yes, good evening. Good evening, sir.
Right.
Is this Martin? Oh.
Yes, this is Martin.
Okay, all right. Good.
Right. From where you sit and from the legal standpoint, how serious are these allegations in the petition, especially that it is citing a Supreme Court judge?
Yeah, that's very serious. It's extremely serious. So it tells you that citizens are beginning to assert their rights more and more than previously. Because, to be honest, maybe because the story is still unfolding, I was like, so which specific crime is the citizen looking at? That's the thing. So maybe, when stories unfold, it takes some time, especially as we haven't seen the exact copy of the petition. So, if you see the person's direct words, his direct statement, then sometimes it influences how you understand the case. Because for now, I'm like, okay, the interference, so I'm struggling a bit. But so right now, your case, thankfully, your question is not about which specific crime, right? But even the very nature of the petition itself. It tells you that citizens are becoming more assertive. It's okay. It's okay. It's within our rights because, for a very long time, we usually have been very reticent and very differential to authority. So that we pay too much respect to people in high authority. We don't like to hold them to account because they say, hey, like in Treve, hey, we need to make me actually manson. We need to make me actually manson. So to transliterate, can you mitigate with this very powerful person? It's not only in Ghana, all over the world it happens. Sometimes we fail to compare well. Today in the UK, in the US, etc., there are people who are scared to take on powerful people in society because of fear of victimization, right? So, and we are even far less developed because here it's more difficult to find a job generally, etc. So when you find people willing to take powerful people on, then it tells you that it takes extra courage because a lot of people you meet, they often don't want to talk about people in authority for the first reason that, hey, if I get sacked from my workplace, what will I eat?
Right.
But in the advanced countries, a lot of them, even if you don't work, there is even unemployment benefits that you get. Yet people there are even scared to take on powerful people. Okay? So to the extent that a citizen wants to hold these two persons accountable, it is their right. It is their right. Nobody can take it away from them.
Yeah, but
so
Counsel,
let's see how the investigations pan out.
And could it be, what do you make of suggestions that it could be in reaction to Richard Jakpa's petition? He's also petitioned the CID against former Attorney General Godfrey Dame. Could it be that people are also reacting to that, or their petition is a reaction to Richard Jakpa's earlier petition against Godfrey Dame?
Okay, I see the connection now. Yeah, so if that is it, sure, why not? As I said, they say, yes, when you take on, that's meaning that, like we say, we like this favorite saying in Ghanaian English. Well, we borrowed it from the English people, that people who live in glass houses do not throw stones, right? So that's it. So if you live in a glass house and you like throwing stones, be sure somebody will throw one at yours and your house may get shattered as well. Well, I mean, that is not a reason why I can rubbish this particular petition. No, it's not within my place. Even if it's in retaliation, well, what can we do?
Right.
We cannot say because it's in retaliation, then we would poo-poo it or say that this particular petition by Daniel Mafo, right? That's the name I saw, Daniel Mafo, is not worth the paper on which it is written. No. So if it's also petitioned because Jakpa petitioned against Godfrey Dame, okay, sure. Let the investigations go on, and then we would see how it pans out.
Okay.
It's within his constitutional rights to express himself and to ask for accountability.
And finally, how should we relate to relatives who are lawyers, or in this case, judges at a very high court, as in at the Supreme Court? You have a case. Is it that the law does not allow you as a family member to even seek advice on how to approach a case from a relative who is in a superior court, because there is a likelihood of an issue of conflict of interest? Like, I mean, you are a family member, Mr. Kwebu, and then someone is suing me, or I am suing someone, and by virtue of you being a judge, I cannot come to you because the case might come to your desk or might come to you as a judge to superintend over it. How do we maneuver around the issues of relations, relatives, and legal issues?
Okay, so the first thing is that for a relation close enough, okay, not just that we come from the same village, but if the relationship is close enough, then even from the get-go, there's no way that judge will be allowed to sit on that case when it eventually gets to the court in which that judge sits. So let's say this particular case was mentioned. So if, let's say, Justice Kulendi in the Supreme Court, from what we know from the Jakpa tape saying that they are related, then it means that if a case came to the Supreme Court and it involved Jakpa or any other relation of Justice Kulendi, the conflict rules disbar him, debar him from sitting on it because of the conflict rules. So generally, unless the judge is not, it's not allowed. Even if people don't know, because we have a very strong society, things leak. Okay, so even if people are not aware, generally the judge will decline because he knows that maybe tomorrow it will leak, and the moment it leaks, it's going to be a huge embarrassment and may even lead to the an Article 146 proceedings against that judge if it's in a superior court, okay, or also a petition for the removal of the judge, also under the Constitution. That one goes to the Judicial Council, etc. Yes, so the conflict rules don't allow a judge to sit in a case involving a relation. So from that perspective, it means that even if the judge was to talk to his relation, and you cannot also say that a judge should not talk to his relation because the relation is in trouble.
Okay.
Once the judge makes contact with his relation, the conflict rules, even if nobody knows, debar the judge from having anything to do with the case. So on that score, for now, it appears difficult to me to say that a relation cannot inform his other relation who is a judge about a case.
Okay.
The main thing is that if that judge hears it, he should have nothing to do with the case. But he cannot also, the ethics rules, as far as I can remember, I don't remember them saying that the judge should not give support to his relation. So let's say, Martin, if your dad was a Supreme Court judge, Touchwood, and then you have a case, then they will say that because of the conflict rules, your dad can't even talk to you. When you require support, no, he would first, his family first. He has to stand by you, and if so far, so make sure that he doesn't get anywhere near the case. So that's where the conflict is
Right.
There is no conflict if he listens to you as his son, as his cousin, as his brother, sister, etc. But the conflict starts when he attempts to now influence the system. Yes, that's where the thing is. Because your question was that should the judge listen and support the relation? Exactly. That one, I think from what we're saying, no law can stop him from supporting the relation in terms of emotional support, psychological support, financial support, etc. But the forbidden area is now seeking out to help the person in terms of influencing the system to make the case easier or to make the case a foolish case.
Okay. I'm so grateful for your time this evening, and thank you so much for your thoughts on these issues as always.
You're welcome.
We've been hearing the voice and thoughts of Martin Kpebu, who is a private legal practitioner and was giving us some legal perspectives to this news that we got earlier today having to do with a petition filed by a private citizen to the CID asking them to probe a Supreme Court judge, Justice Yonny Kulendi, who is cousin, we are told, to Richard Jakpa. Now, for those of you who may not know, Richard Jakpa was part of an ongoing trial that has to do with the Republic versus Ato Forson and two others. And it has to do also, on that case, Ato Forson, who is the current finance minister, was on trial for some ambulances that were imported into the country, and it had its own key controversies. So it ran the full court case for several years, I should say. And at the end, when the current administration came into power, in fact, probably before this administration even came, it looked as though that the accusers or those who had taken the case to court as a state could not provide enough evidence to prosecute the then minority leader. He was also minority leader, Ato Forson, that is. And Richard Jakpa specifically had a special issue with the then Attorney General, Godfrey Dame, where he came out with some level of evidence to allude to the fact that Godfrey Dame did what is called in legal terms witness tampering, where we are told by Richard Jakpa that the then Attorney General tried to coerce him to feign sickness or to answer questions in a particular way so that it will help him, the Attorney General, pursue the case further and ensure that Ato Forson, the then minority leader, faces the full rigors of the law, or at least is sanctioned. But it turns out that the revelation by Richard Jakpa sort of made the entirety of the case quite murky, had different legal perspectives on the issue. So it has become quite controversial, and now that the case is out of court, Richard Jakpa decided to sue the Attorney General, and we are told as of today that a private citizen has also decided to sue Yonny Kulendi and his cousin Richard Jakpa for alleged attempts to interfere with the prosecution of the Ato Forson case. So a lot of intertwined issues are playing out here. We'll definitely keep you posted to see how the CID will be approaching this issue in terms of investigations. And if you consider the final question I asked private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu, is it that if you have a relative as a judge, you should not or cannot speak to him if you have a legal case? To what extent are you barred from engaging a relative if they are in a position to advise you or at least guide you on how to approach a particular case? You can also let us hear what this issue means to you or how you would react to it on our Facebook page where we are streaming. So do me a favor by logging on to our YouTube page and our Facebook page, post a comment, and we'll be happy to share it as the show goes on. This is 3FM on 92.7. It is a hot edition. We are shifting our attention to some key political issues now.
Yes, Martin. Former Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko has officially declared his intention to contest the national chairmanship position of the new patriotic party, NPP. In a press statement titled "A Call to Duty," the former minister said, following extensive consultation with those whose lives will be affected by his decision, he has decided to put himself up for election. He said he has also listened to the masses of the party, including the rank and file, and came to the conclusion that he is duty-bound to contest the national chairmanship position of the party when nominations are opened. Boakye Agyarko joins a growing list of party stalwarts who have declared their interests in the chairmanship race. They include Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Entwi-Bosiako, also known as Wuntumi, former General Secretary John Boedu, former Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs Stephen Asamoah Boateng, former Ambassador to China Edward Boateng, and former Roads Minister Kwesi Amoakwata. Now, the NPP is expected to elect a flag bearer to lead the party into the 2028 elections in January next year. And we're going to have an extensive conversation on the phone, Martin.
Certainly so, and we would now go and speak to a lecturer who is also a key political analyst, Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere. He's joined us on phone for a quick chat. Mr. Asante-Okyere, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening, Martin, and good evening to your listeners.
To start with, how do you assess the propriety and the timing of Boakye Agyarko's decision to, contest for the NPP's national chairmanship slot? What kind of history does it bring to the position, you think?
Yeah, the timing is very perfect. I think that is the advice I gave Mr. Kwabena Japan. If he had declared his intention to contest for the chairmanship, I'm sure Mr. Boakye Agyarko wouldn't have contested, because as of now, the NPP has already made some kind of amendment to their constitution to the effect that whether theoretically or practically, the chairman is going to be the leader of the party, whether in opposition or in government. That in itself is very interesting. And so if you really want to, have a chairman that will be able to hold the rank and file together, and then hold those who will be in government, if they find themselves in government, accountable, then you need someone who has the clout, the wherewithal. And I think that Mr. Boakye Agyarko has what it takes to be the chairman of the party.
The party, since they went into opposition, has been in some level of turmoil. Does his personality look like one that can hold the party together and bring some calm to it now that they are in very troubled waters?
I see in him as someone who believes in reforms, who believes in cracking the whips when the need arises, because he appears to me as a no-nonsense person. He tells his mind. We can't even say that he's among the party leaders who probably spoke truth to power, and that was when Mr. Akufo-Addo was in power. He means no words when it came to those kinds of pronouncements. He made it so clear, especially when he was contesting the presidential, primaries. He made his views strongly and very clearly. So I think that if you need a chairman for a period in which you have made some kind of reforms and amendments to your constitution, you need someone who is very, resolute in his views, who will be a stickler of the constitution and will apply same fairly and squarely. I don't think that you need someone who will speak in ambiguous fashions. I think that is the type of person that they will need for now. Maybe another time we may have the opportunity to talk about others who might have expressed their interest. For now, it is Boakye Agyarko, and I think that is somebody that the MPP will need for now, because I think he's more of a disciplinarian, and there are certain things that he will not tolerate. And so if the leadership of the party will come into his hands, I think that MPP will be better for it.
And thanks for staying with us. The other concern that some people within the party are raising is that given the stature of other contenders like Bernard Agyarko, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, John Boedu, Asamoah Boateng, Edward Boateng, Kwesi Amoah-Akwanta, these are individuals who are also known and carry some clout. What is the constituency and the impact that Mr. Agyarko has that we can bank on that could give him the green light to probably beat these other key contenders?
Well, of course, he's been a minister before. He was one time the campaign manager of President Akufo-Addo, and he's also been a presidential candidate. So I think that apart from the fact that those he contested against, had more upper hand than he did, then obviously he couldn't do well in the presidential slot. But deciding to come for the chairmanship, it's as if that, look, I really want to serve the party in whichever capacity that I find myself. That's how I see it. And if you look at the letter that he put out there, it means that he's done some broad consultation. And of course, if things don't go well, or if there are some kinds of abuses here and there, it is the immediate family that will be affected. And he's done consultation with them as well. And of course, it appears he's also listened to some of us. I think I have mentioned his name somewhere, some time ago, in some kind of analysis that I did with respect to this chairmanship and then that of Mr. Kwabena Agyarko. And I think that during the by-election at Akutia, I said that I see no reason why Mr. Kwabena Agyarko will still want to contest as a presidential candidate for the NPP in terms of their primaries, because you see, when you listen to him, he is a man full of ideas. He's been there before, having been the secretary to the former president, Mr. Kufuor, and so on and so forth, and he's contested perennially for the slot to be the presidential candidate of the NPP. Then, unfortunately, he was also was suspended as general secretary. He went into some kind of hiatus for about 10 years. He's back and still wants to be the presidential candidate. I was thinking that he was going to, change course and then go for the chairmanship, because he's somebody who has similar characteristics as Mr. Boakye Agyarko. That's the more reason why I believe that Mr. Boakye Agyarko stands tall when it comes to the other competitors.
Thank you so much for your time this evening, and we are grateful that you could speak to us on this subject matter. You had Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere, who is a political science, technically a political analyst and also a lecturer there. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition, and we have two big stories we've already brought to you. The first having to do with the fact that a judge of the Supreme Court has been dragged to the CID, police CID, to be investigated following alleged interference in a high-profile case. Secondly, we just heard the voice of Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere on the fact that a key NPP senior official and the former Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko has given strongest indications that he is interested in contesting for the chairmanship position of the NPP, and this is on the back of many other individuals who have also declared their intention to run again. So it's very cagey, and we'll try and keep you very close to the action as much as possible so we get to know who gets to lead the New Patriotic Party going forward. Your comments are also very welcome, and we are hoping that you send them in good time so we can read it to the rest of the world. In other news this evening,
Government has announced an upward adjustment in the daily feeding allowance for inmates, raising it from 1 cedi 80 pesos to 5 cedis per prisoner. The Interior Ministry explained that the increment is aimed at improving nutrition and easing the pressure on the Ghana Prison Service, which has long struggled with inadequate funding for meals. Sector Minister Mubarak Muntaka Mohammed provided details during an appearance at the Public Accounts Committee hearing. Noble Korsbianan has a report.
The 1 cedi 80 pesos daily feeding allowance for inmates, unchanged since 2010, has long been criticized as woefully inadequate for providing 3 meals a day to prisoners. After years of public outcry and internal complaints, a 10 million cedi budgetary allocation is now expected to be released to cover the last quarter of the year. This follows presidential approval for an increase in the daily allowance from 1 cedi 80 pesos to 5 cedis, a move widely seen as long overdue.
We proposed 10 Ghana cedis and were granted 5. And after the consultations, President actually instructed that the amount should be increased to 5 cedis. And that's an amount of 10 million, which was supposed to cover the last quarter of the year, was to be released. But it is yet to be released, even though the approval has been.
We know that the 5 cedi is not adequate, but looking at where we are taking it from, 1 cedi 80% to 5 cedi would be a good start. Hoping that will build on it.
Interior Minister Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, responding to revelations that over 600 firearms are being unlawfully held by civilians with expired licenses, said an ongoing detailed overhaul of Ghana's firearms licensing system is the best solution.
One of the challenges that we have is that everything is manual. If it is not computerized, it becomes a daunting task. So these 606 that they are talking about, they are scattered across the country. We are currently working on digitalizing, like I mentioned earlier, almost every services in the ministry. In fact, we are almost at the tail end of it. We are very hopeful by November, December, it should come on board.
While addressing multiple infractions involving agencies under his ministry during his appearance before the Public Accounts Committee, the minister also pushed for legal reforms. He called for laws that will hold past public officials accountable for financial irregularities uncovered during audits.
We may have to amend our laws to hold the specific persons who are there to come and answer. Why am I saying this? This is an infraction 2020-2024. Someone was sitting there and acted irresponsibly. He came to office in February, and with 3 months he was able to retrieve that money. Someone was there, he was giving the management notice showing this infraction. He sat throughout that period. He never retrieved a dime. Yet now 5 of the companies are what do you call it, have gone defunct. And the amount of money in their name, madam, it is better we tell the committee the truth. Those companies, that amount of money in their name cannot be retrieved because they are no longer in existence.
Meanwhile, the committee has rescheduled its engagement with the Attorney General and the Food and Agriculture Ministries after both sector ministers and their deputies failed to appear before the committee.
And that is a report put together by Noble Crosby Annan. And if you go to our website, 3news.com, or you follow us on all the socials, you certainly get more of these, of the running stories in the country. And then you can also share them and share your thoughts with us as well.
Away from that, today, September 30th, 2025, marks the official end of the African Growth and Opportunity Act. The policy initiated by the Bush administration some 25 years provided Ghanaian and African businesses the opportunity to export goods like textiles, apparel, and certain agricultural products to the U.S. market tariff-free. However, President Donald Trump, in far-reaching tariff review, withdrew all privileges, effectively nullifying the benefits African countries enjoyed. This means, beginning today, Ghanaian products entering the U.S. face tariffs of up to 15%. The Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana say the situation leaves Ghanaian exporters in a state of dilemma. We'll go on the phone right now and have a conversation.
Yes. Thank you. And Samson Asaki Awingo Bit has joined us. He is the Executive Director of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. Mr. Awingo, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Thank you for having me.
It caught everyone by surprise globally when President Donald Trump came in and said that some of these aids that they give out to a number of countries are going to be suspended or stopped. And your members clearly were within the bracket of Ghanaians who exported to the U.S. How did the news hit you when it came, and how have you coped between then and now?
Well, it was a big surprise. It was a big blow.
And after that first announcement of 10%, which was slapped to Ghana, Ghanaian exporters or Ghanaian products, he came back to say, okay, I've suspended it and I'm giving countries the opportunity to come and negotiate. I'm sure you saw the kind of percentage he slapped on China. And when the Chinese government delegation went, they said, well, if you give us 34, we'll also give you 30% of your product into our market. Unfortunately, I think at first it was 154 or so, and they have to reduce it to 30 or 34, and then China also imposed 34 or thereabout. So it's 30, 34. But when it came to Ghana, I did not see whether we send a delegation. Actually, I didn't see. It was a public conversation. We were all seeing it, the videos and the conversations. But when it got to Ghana, I didn't see. I don't know what happened, what actually went. But I know the Minister of Trade is here in the country now as I speak. I know that the government is aware that 10 at 12 midnight today, this issue would be thing of the past. And I know that as it gets 12 midnight and this law will go off, it's going to affect Ghanaian produce, Ghanaian exporters, and I name them, be it cashew, be it butter, be it cocoa derivative, and be it gamut and other things are all going to be affected. What it means is that, last year, when they talk of the 2022 or 2023, about export alone was about $10.something billion from the AGOA. And if today this AGOA is going off from us, I can tell you, now that we are swallowing, now that we are walloping with foreign currency to treat, we need these are the people who export these non-traditional commodities to the U.S. market and bring proceeds back home to stabilize the cedi depreciation. And as we speak now, the dollar is picking up again as against the cedi. And if at this point in time we have to pay tariff 15% on dollar, it's a big blow. And that is why I issued a statement. I'm calling on the president, calling on the government to tell us something. I've just spoken to my colleagues from from Fitch and Federation of Ghanaian exporters, and it seems we haven't had clear-cut guidelines of communication as to what. Or the only thing that I'm very much aware is the government of Ghana getting another market, which is the Asia, which is the Chinese market, that we can export our produce. But the point here is many have already established market with the U.S. Government with our relationship with the President Mama. I think last time we saw Donald Trump calling President Mama that he really like him. He has done so much. That is true. Can President Mama reach out to his brother? I remember when UK was pulling out from EU. They invited different individual countries to come and negotiate. We could have go there as the AU bloc, African Union bloc. I was expecting that at the time Donald Trump was calling for individual countries. African Union would say no. We will not allow individual countries to come and negotiate. But, however, we are going to come in bloc as AU will come to negotiate. And that would have been a very strong, a very bold decision. However, that couldn't happen. President Mama has that good rapport with Donald Trump. I want to use this opportunity to talk to him. Can he talk to his brother to find a way? Maybe they can have an individual country-to-country approach.
Okay.
Or maybe as he withdraw, get like the reinstate our visa issues for us. Perhaps, why not? If President Mama reach out to his brother,
they can talk about it.
He might also do something
and
for our
could it be that members or people who, I know that the original concept, the AGOA concept right from inception, was clearly targeted to the United States market. But over 25 years since its existence, was it that the manufacturers or the exporters didn't consider alternative markets? Or if they did, is it that because the primary focus was U.S., they already have other places they export to, but have not given it priority?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. That just like when we came, China came and said, I'm giving you my market. China market is big, but to develop a product, to take a product to a new country, to convince them to understand, it will take a longer time. But our product is already known, tasted, and has preference in the U.S. market. So consumption is high. I know that we can make a very serious, aggressive market entrance to the China market. However, we still need the U.S. market. And so, as I said, President Mama is going to have that privilege by reaching out to the U.S. president for them to maybe, perhaps, why not? He can give us a special package for for our product to continue to go to their market.
Okay, and these are largely raw materials that are not easily accessible in the U.S. market, I'm sure. The ones that Ghana exports to the to under AGOA, the ones that Ghana exports to the U.S.
Yes, gamo, textiles, cashew, cocoa derivatives, and other things are things that were jewelry and others were exported to that country under AGOA arrangement.
Okay. Mr. Wingobe, we'll see how the coming days, and it's interesting that the president is expected to return from the U.S., so probably they may have broached it with their U.S. counterparts like you indicate. So we'll wait to see what the response from government will be, and now that the AGOA concept is ending today. Thank you very much. Samson Asaki Wingobe is the Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. What do you make of the fact that AGOA, and I'm sure you probably know someone or are an exporter yourself to the U.S. market, what do you make of the fact that today is the last day since Donald Trump came in? They gave clear indications that countries like Ghana or any other country on this kind of partnership with the U.S., it is ceasing forthwith. And the grace period was given up until today, which is the 30th of September, and effective today, there is no more AGOA, and Ghanaian exporters to the U.S. market under the AGOA program may not be able to do so. What do you make of this this particular issue, and the fact that Ghana is seeking markets elsewhere? Should our exporters reconsider the entirety of the export business to other markets? And what are the other things that we may, as Ghanaians, be able to export to those markets to leverage on the raw materials we have in this country? Do let us know your thoughts in the comment section. We'll be happy and glad to read it to the rest of the world. This is still 3FM 92.7. Let's go on to some other stories this evening. And government has assured newly recruited teachers that their delayed salaries will be addressed in the next budget presentation, which is set to be delivered in the next 30 days. The teachers, comprising the 2022 batch of College of Education graduates and university-trained teachers, earlier today took to the streets to demand the payment of their 13 and 9-month salary arrears. The protesters petitioned the presidency, the education and finance ministers over the issue. Let's listen to one of the teachers who participated in the walk or the march today.
For 9 to 13 months, we've been in the classrooms, we've been at the war front working. You all know how the recruitment process is. When you get the appointment, no one gives you a dime. You would have to go for loans and all that. And for 13 months, without salaries, it's not been easy. We've engaged our employers severally. We've engaged our Honorable Minister, and all they say is we need financial clearance. We've written to the Minister of Finance, but nothing is here. So we thought it as much to, we made a press conference, by the way, and said that if we are omitted from September salaries, we will have to hit the streets.
We presented a petition expecting that it will get to His Excellency for action to be taken. For a good 2 weeks, we have not heard anything. Today, we've joined a larger group to come. We want to believe if you put our issues before His Excellency, our issues will be addressed. In as much as His Excellency was able to listen to the cry of tomato farmers and made sure that their cry was heeded to, in the same way He can listen to our cry and come to our aid. We cannot teach with empty stomach.
And you heard some of the teachers expressing their thoughts and frustration on the long delayed salary arrears and their call on government to ensure that at least they are properly recruited and remunerated as well. Meanwhile, Deputy Finance Minister Thomas Nyakwampim, after receiving a petition, assured the newly recruited teachers of ongoing efforts to address their concerns.
I also trained as a teacher, left the training college and was posted to teach. For 8 months, I did not have salary, and I know how difficult it was. And so I can relate perfectly well with all of you. For teaching for 1 year without a salary how difficult such a situation can be. The finance minister wants me to tell you this, that he sympathizes with you and that your predicament, your situation has been brought to his attention. He has gone to brief His Excellency the President, who has given him the green light to make sure that he fixes your problems. And so in the next 30 days, the finance minister is going to Parliament to present the next budget to Parliament. In that budget, the finance minister is going to make provision for all of you to be catered for. So you should be very happy that your problem will be fixed. That is the good news that I have for you. That His Excellency the President has asked the finance minister to make sure that provisions are made for you so that your salaries are paid. You will be fixed. Thank you and God bless you all.
And that is Thomas Nyako Ampim, who is Deputy Finance Minister, when addressing the teachers when he received his a copy of the petition that these aggrieved teachers had. Still listening to 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. We have the latest in the world of business for you in a jiffy.
Good evening and welcome to the business segment here on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, energy analyst decries Ghana's failure to link upstream and downstream petroleum sectors. We have details of these and many more stories coming up shortly. Please stay with us. Ghana is failing to leverage its burgeoning upstream petroleum sector to benefit its downstream industry, according to the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy. Executive Director at the Center, Benjamin Nsia, criticized the current fragmented approach, noting that the nation has not done well in using its crude oil production to strategically bolster local refining and distribution capabilities. Nsia has called for the immediate implementation of an integrated business module that will strategically connect the upstream sector to the downstream.
For petroleum, I think that we've not done much at all. We've not done well at all, because if you look at, based on the integrated business model, the petroleum sector are standalone entities within the whole petroleum value chain. GMPC stands alone, TOR stands alone, and also GOIL, or the industry, the downstream, also stands alone. For example, being government companies within the same value chain, or GMPC ought to have been selling our crude to TOR to refine, and then TOR also finds the downstream players and also sell these products to them. But GMPC has created a vertical business model where they sell to some companies abroad, or maybe they sell to some companies locally, either than TOR. And then TOR also has created itself as a vertical business or a standalone business model that also imports crude from other jurisdictions and also refines and even sells to other OMCs, either than GOIL.
That was Executive Director at SEMC, Benjamin Nsia. Just before we go, the National Service Authority says it is working to scale up poultry production to over 500,000 birds by next year as part of efforts to reduce Ghana's dependence on imported protein. According to data from the Observatory of Economic Complexity, Ghana spent more than $110 million on meat imports in 2023 alone. Speaking to the media on the sidelines of the grand finale and awards night of the Young Agribusiness Professionals Program, Forum, Cohort 3 Executive Director Ruth Della Sedo said the authority aims to cut the market price of its poultry by over 50% to boost local consumption and enhance food security.
Like I said, within 8 months, we were able to raise from 2,500 to 100,000. And so we are hoping that within the next year, just within 1 year, next year when you come to our farm, look, trust me, 500,000 beds, and I'm sure that we'll all be wowed, but that is the vision. And yes, practically, we see the feasibility and it's going to happen. With the National Service, we are expecting about 150,000 young people within the National Service. I mean, it's in its entirety, but we are hoping that we can entice and recruit about 50,000 Ghanaian youth within the agribusiness space, because it's not just about growing, but it's also about supporting young people along the value chain. So, for example, just I think about last week, we all advertised on our various social media handles that inviting especially young women to come on board. We are ready to give broilers that are being sold on the market for 150 Ghana cedis per one bed to them for 70 Ghana cedis.
That was Executive Director of National Security, Ruth Della Sedo. And that'll be all for the business segment here on Hot Edition. My name is Christabel. Success Treve. You can log on to 3news.com for more details. Sports is up next.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition with me, Oreku Ampofo. We'll be starting off from South Africa, where their qualifying campaign has been dealt a major blow after FIFA docked Bafana 3 points for fielding an ineligible player, that's Mokoena, in their earlier World Cup qualifying match against Lesotho in a game which they won by 2-0. Now, the penalty has sent shockwaves throughout the nation and thrown the race for qualification wide open. Sports journalist Lawrence Kula describes the reaction in South Africa.
Been a rough couple of hours, obviously, for the general public. You can see the reaction on social media. It's on every front page. It's, spoken on all the radio stations. It's the talk of the town right now. That we've been docked points for fielding an ineligible play against Lesotho. But for us in the media, this had come as such a shock. We got wind about a couple of weeks ago, I think it was just before the Nigeria game, that, this ruling would be coming. And the expectations, obviously, for the rest of the campaign would have been very different, given the fact that, Benin would be going top of the group after, a major goal difference swing and, being on the same points. But it's obviously giving the Nigeria Super Eagles a lot of hope now, where I think a couple of days ago they would have felt, in the doldrums and feeling like there's not much to play for in the final two games. But yeah, I think the only reprieve about this is the fact that, the Rwanda and Zimbabwe games, that's the final two games of this qualifiers for Bafana is coming so quickly. So, they can rectify, this whole administrative mess, which obviously was a player, Tebogo Mokoena, playing a game against Lesotho when he was suspended with 2 yellow cards earlier in the campaign. SAFA claimed that obviously there was a mix-up between, the AFCON and the World Cup qualifying campaign, and it was just human error. But obviously that is not an excuse that many people are taking, because it's amateur at this level. I mean, that's your job before a game. So, yeah, look, I think the team, the coach should still be annoyed, but confident that they can get this over the line. Also, given the fact that Benin need to play Nigeria, so they kind of could cancel each other out there.
That was South African journalist Lawrence Kula. While the FIFA sanction has given Nigeria fresh hope in the World Cup qualifying, not everyone is convinced that the Super Eagles can overtake South Africa with a 3 points deficit with 2 games remaining. Nigerian sports administrator Ayodeji Agbenero says despite a 3-point deduction, Bafana remain favourites to still win the group.
Well, the sanctions melted out to the South African Football Association for fielding an ineligible player against Lesotho is sort of a welcome relief. If you look at it from the Nigeria perspective, it sort of gives a glimmer of hope, but I still think that South Africa will still qualify for the World Cup. Remember, they have 2 games left against Rwanda and against Zimbabwe. Both games are home, even though the game against Zimbabwe is technically an away game, but that game will be played in South Africa. And if they win both games, they qualify for the World Cup as group winners of that group. So it's just a glimmer of hope for Nigeria. But all South Africa have to do is win 2 games and they qualify for the World Cup. So I think at this point, the best Nigeria can hope for is to maybe finish second in that group. Maximum we can get will be 17 points and hope that is enough.
Well, that was Nigerian sports administrator Ayodeji, bringing an end to the sports segment here on Hot Edition. If you want some more updates, especially on the Champions League, you can check out our social media handles at 3sports. as Club Brugge are currently leading Atalanta by 1-0, and Real Madrid lead by 2-0 against Kairat Almaty. And Kylian Mbappe getting a brace there. Later tonight, Jose Mourinho would have a homecoming as he leads Benfica against Chelsea, and then Galatasaray face Liverpool amongst the host of games in the Champions League.
And also soon we've come to the end of Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. Thank you for keeping your dial locked on here on 3FM. 7. I am Christabel, success Treve, and I did this with Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Up next is 3FM Drive Team with Trickmatic and DJ Faculty. Keep up.